I became engaged last summer, and we are planning to get married next year. For our small wedding event, I wish to have my family present, but my parents, 59-year-old male, 57-year-old female, consistently find excuses. Having lived abroad for over a decade, I've never received a single visit from my parents or sister, despite their lack of financial struggles and the travel not being transatlantic. I visit minimum once a year and send gifts. For my sister's wedding, I got her dresses and shoes for her bachelorette party, earrings for her wedding, and then an antique dining porcelain set and a money gift as a wedding present for the couple. I was the housemaid for a week, doing every cleaning chore she had for me. On her wedding day, I gave my mother money to pay for makeup, a hairstylist, and DJ. Last Christmas, I sent gifts for her child and again a money present for them to use for an activity. The main problem I have is that it is the norm that my sister gets treated this way. But when it comes to me, it's only excuses, and I should just accept the fact that it is how it happened with me. For example, my sister started with a small car, then upgraded to a brand new one, and secured a spacious, fully furnished apartment with a parking spot, never paying rent her entire life. Everything was paid for by my parents. Regular visits, car, and home repairs handled by my parents, and a lavish wedding with their support. Her child is showered with toys and everything money can buy. I get money occasionally, but nothing I count on because I never know how much or when they're going to send something. Sometimes they say they're going to send something and send nothing. And this would have never bothered me as a 30-year-old grown-up woman if my sister wasn't getting what she is getting her whole life and being 5 years older. I tried confronting them about it, and it is going either A, they get angry and start calling me a spoiled child who doesn't care about others, B, I shouldn't be concentrating only on the bad stuff and learn to forgive and forget because we love each other so much and that's what matters. C, my mother goes into full tragic victim mode, how they are actually struggling financially, and it's really hard for them, but I don't know anything about it. And I am not buying it because they can provide for my sister through all kinds of hardships they allegedly have, but not find a single penny for the last 10 years to visit me. When I told them I wanted them to come to my wedding, my father said, "We will see because we need to take care of your grandparents." My grandparents live a few hours away from them, and they don't visit regularly. None of them are incapable or sick. Yes, one grandmother has a broken bone at the moment, but they don't visit her every week, and the medical expenses are covered, so I don't see how this is a problem to plan a 4-day or 1-week visit minimum of 8 to 9 months in advance. At this point, I am just so sad and tired. I am tired of them just not giving a frick about my life and getting an excuse every time. My parents never cared for me the way they cared for my sister and never took an interest in my life. I don't want them to pay for the wedding, like they did for my sister. I just want them to be present. I resent them and can't shake the thought that there is just something wrong with me, that I am just not wanted and somehow flawed to be treated this way. While this takes a huge toll on my mental state and I struggle with depression, they just don't care and probably don't even think about me. I decided not to invite them and cut contact to a minimum. We are planning an elopement wedding now. Do you have similar stories, advice, or anything? Is this even salvageable? At this point, I don't see any reason to try to make them a part of my life when they just want to be spectators from as far as possible. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. My mom and her sister were just like this with their parents. My mom was the responsible oldest child, and her sister was the baby. The sister could do no wrong, was spoiled with visits and monetary gifts, had college paid for, everything. When it came to my mom, they depended on her for everything with no thanks, criticized everything she did and everything her husband did. My mom, of course, never considered therapy or cutting her family off. She just suffered, every holiday opening old wounds and making her absolutely miserable. It affected her for life. Anyway, it sounds like you would be well within your rights to either go no contact or at the very least, not invite them and stop visiting and sending gifts. Stay strong and probably see a therapist at some point. Comment 2. My mother couldn't afford to contribute financially to my wedding. I did not ask her to at all, but she told me up front that she couldn't afford to. Then she paid for my sister's bridesmaid dress, my niece's flower girl dress, and bought herself an expensive mother of the bride dress. Oh, I see. You can pay for things as long as they aren't mine. I get it. My sister made 10 times what I did. And my mother was living on a trust fund for her parents. But she needed to clarify that I was not to expect anything from her in the way of financial support. The best thing about the wedding was that there were enough people that cared about me attending that I didn't have to spend much time dealing with my self-centered mom. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, it's been 2 weeks since I last posted about my family situation and the wedding drama. I've got some updates that I think you'll find pretty interesting, so buckle up because a lot has happened. After my last post, I was pretty set on the elopement idea. I mean, why bother with all the stress, right? But then, my mom called me out of the blue. She was crying, which was a shock because my mom isn't the type to show emotions like that. She said she had been thinking a lot about what I said and that it wasn't fair to me. I was skeptical, but I listened. She confessed that they had been helping my sister so much because she had been through some tough times that I didn't know about. Apparently, my sister had a series of failed businesses that left her in debt, and my parents were bailing her out. They didn't want me to think less of her, so they kept it a secret. I was floored. I had no idea. But here's the juicy part. My parents offered a compromise. They said they couldn't afford to pay for my wedding like they did for my sister, but they wanted to make it up to me. They proposed that they would pay for their own travel expenses to come to my wedding and also cover the cost of a professional photographer as their gift to us. I was stunned. It was more than I expected, and it felt like they were finally trying to make things right. I talked it over with my fiancé, and we decided to take them up on their offer. We're back to planning a small wedding with my family present. It's not going to be as lavish as my sister's, but that's okay. What matters is that they're making an effort to be there for me. But wait, there's more. My sister called me after she heard about the compromise. She was upset at first, thinking I was trying to take something away from her. But after a long talk, we cleared the air. She apologized for not realizing how different our parents treated us and promised to try to make our relationship better. She even offered to help with some of the wedding planning, which is a big deal because we haven't been that close. Now, let's talk about the confrontation that happened. My dad and I had a heart-to-heart. He admitted that they had always been worried about my sister because she was less independent than me. They saw me as the strong one who didn't need help. I told him how that made me feel neglected and less valued. It was a tough conversation, but it needed to happen. My dad was pretty quiet for a while. Then he said something that nearly knocked me off my feet. He admitted they had been wrong to assume I didn't need them just because I was independent. He said he was proud of the life I built for myself, and he regretted not being more involved. I won't lie, I cried. It was the first time I felt like my dad really saw me. So we're all trying to move forward. The wedding plans are back on, and my parents are involved. They've been asking about my preferences and what they can do to help. It's a big change from before, and I'm cautiously optimistic. I've been reflecting on everything that's happened. It's been a whirlwind of emotions, but I'm hopeful that this is the start of a new chapter for my family and me. I'm learning that sometimes you have to confront the hard truths to make progress. I'm still a bit wary though. I mean, after years of feeling like the second choice, it's hard to shake that feeling completely. But I'm willing to give my family a chance to make things right. We're taking it one step at a time. As for my grandparents, they're doing well. My grandmother's broken bone is healing, and my parents have been visiting more often. They even joked about bringing them to the wedding, but we'll see about that. So that's where things stand now. My fiancé and I are excited about the wedding again, and my family is showing signs of coming together. It's not perfect, but it's a start. Thanks to everyone who offered advice and shared their stories. It really helped me navigate through this mess. Wife says I can't have hobby because I'm a dad, but I get revenge on her. Boy, she's sorry. Now wife claims I'm being a child for wanting to pursue a hobby. My son is 20 months old, and we have just moved within Australia from one state to another, about 1.5 months ago. Her work started earlier, about 1 week after we moved. My work, since I work in a school, starts at the end of January, and my son's childcare starts next week. I have been taking care of my son while she's at work, since childcare is not available. I am not complaining about taking care of him, as it's my responsibility. So I cook his meals, shower him, feed him, etc. So basically, by the time she returns home, he is all done and ready to sleep, and meals are also ready for her most of the time. Since my son was born, I have let go of all the hobbies I had, weightlifting, running, and playing soccer. I recently thought of learning a martial art and signed up for a month-long class. Earlier this week, I was planning to go for a lesson, and we had an argument which prevented me from going. Today, I chose a later class to go to at 8 p.m. and had everything sorted with my son and food ready by 6 p.m. The only thing my wife had to do was come home, eat, shower, and just lie down with him to put him to sleep. For some reason, she expects me to lie down with them until he falls asleep. She claims he wants me. Today, I could see that he wasn't going to sleep easily. I needed to leave home at 7:20 so that I could be on time for the class. At 7:10, my son wasn't asleep yet, and I asked her for the time, assuming that she would tell me to go and attend my class. But instead, she said I have to stay and change my class again. My anger got the better of me, and I told her how she gets alone time during the manicure, pedicure, threading sessions that she has, whereas I don't have any alone time at all. And a few days ago on New Year's, she went for a yoga class in the morning, leaving me alone with him, which was fine, and expected us to pick her up after the lesson. She just scolded me, saying that if I do not put the priorities of this family first, then she is happy for me to leave this house and get a divorce. I am not sure if I am in the wrong or right for thinking that I should get some alone time too. The only time I leave the house alone is to do laundry for the entire family or get groceries. Since we moved to this other city, I haven't really had time for myself also because I haven't gone to work. So I am not sure. Please tell me if I am being in butt or I am being taken for a ride. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. She is not putting either of you at the forefront. It sounds like there is something bigger going on and she should seek treatment. She is clearly avoiding your child and any interaction with him at the expense of your relationship. Edit to add that OP acknowledged that this behavior of hers became apparent since the arrival of my son. Postpartum depression, PPD, is a strong contender. Comment 2. She is being unreasonable. An hour away for an exercise class is absolutely normal. You had him ready and she didn't have to do anything other than put him to bed. You guys should have a chat about expectations and roles tasks in the marriage. Also, threatening divorce when she doesn't get her way is just immature. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments on my last post. It's been a rough week, and I've got quite the update for you all. So, after the argument about my martial arts class, things took a turn. My wife and I didn't speak much for a couple of days. The tension was thick, and I could tell she was upset, but so was I. We were both stewing in our own juices, and it wasn't healthy. Then, out of the blue, my wife came home early from work on Wednesday. She had this look in her eyes, the same one she had when we first met at a friend's barbecue years ago. It was a look that said she had something important on her mind. She sat me down and apologized. She admitted she had been unfair and recognized that I needed time for myself too. I was floored. I hadn't expected her to come around so quickly. We decided to have a date night to reconnect, something we hadn't done since before our son was born. It was like we were rediscovering each other all over again. We talked about our dreams, our fears, and how we could support each other better. It felt like we were finally on the same page. But then the next day, she dropped a bombshell. She confessed that the reason she had been so adamant about me not going to my class was because she was feeling insecure. She was worried that with my new hobby, I would meet someone else and leave her. It was a shock to hear that she felt this way. I reassured her that my commitment to our family was unwavering. We agreed to work on our communication and to make sure we both had time for ourselves. I started attending my martial arts classes, and she took up an evening book club with some of her colleagues. It was a good balance, and things were looking up. But life has a funny way of throwing curveballs. Just when we thought we had it all figured out, my son's childcare called to say they had an infection 19 outbreak and would be closed for 2 weeks. Suddenly, we were back to square one, juggling our work and our son without any outside help. It was during this time that I realized how much my wife truly did for our family. With the childcare closed, she took on even more, working from home while helping me with our son. I saw her in a new light, not just as my partner, but as a superwoman who somehow managed to keep everything afloat. The climax of the week came when my son fell ill. It was nothing serious, just a common cold, but it meant sleepless nights and worry. We were both exhausted, trying to soothe him and keep up with our own responsibilities. It was during one of those long nights that I found myself looking at my wife and son, feeling a mix of love and fatigue, and I realized that this was what family was all about. We're still figuring things out, and it's not perfect. My wife and I have our good days and our bad days, but we're trying, and that's what counts. I've learned that being a parent and a partner means making sacrifices, but it also means finding joy in the little moments. So as I sit here typing this update, my son is finally asleep in his crib, and my wife is dozing off on the couch. I'm about to wake her up and guide her to bed, where we'll probably lie awake for a while, talking softly about our day. Husband wants me to share myself with other men, but then I find out he posted my nudes on Reddit. Oh boy, I confronted him and asked for a divorce, but we have a child together. Oh boy, I'm a 27-year-old female married to a 27-year-old male. We have a toddler son together and have been together for 5 years, married for 1.5 of those. Over the last couple of months, some things have come to light that probably should end in divorce, but obviously having a child together makes it even harder to leave. Backstory. In college, he shared with me a kink he has that involved sharing me with other men. I vocalized my discomfort with sleeping with other people while in a relationship and in general. He was the first person I had intimacy with, and the only person to this day. This led to him asking if I could send nudes to an old guy friend, and ultimately escalated to him asking to post my nudes to Reddit. I said no to both. I found out back then that he had posted a few to Reddit without my knowledge. They were then deleted. Over the years, the sharing link has come up multiple times, and my answer has always remained no. I have never even been able to entertain the idea with role-playing or dirty talk. Fast forward to this past December, I found a provocative, not unclothed picture of a random girl saved to his camera roll. I confronted him about it, and he said that it was from a Snapchat thread where women post their nudes, but that he equated it to corn and never interacted. I forgave him. Something didn't sit well with me about this, so I sent myself his Snapchat data, probably an invasion of privacy, but I knew he was lying. Guys, I am utterly appalled at what I found. I only obtained data from the last year, at least once a month for all of 2023. He found people on Reddit threads to add to Snapchat and sext with. These were very vulgar messages with both men and women. With the men, he was having them describe what they would do to his wife. With the women, he was just casually sexting and sending/receiving pictures. It gets worse. I noticed there were pictures being exchanged with the men, and I asked what they were. He said they were random photos from Google. Eventually, I got him to admit that he was sometimes sending my nudes that I had sent him in the past, for his eyes only. I am devastated. I feel like I have nothing of my own and never will. I confronted him and told him I wanted a divorce. That was 3 weeks ago. Like I said, we have a child together, so obviously I can't just uproot our lives. We still live together. He is sleeping in the guest bedroom. However, things have started to slip back into normalcy around the house, grocery shopping together, cooking meals for the other person. We talk about future events like we will still be together, but I know this can't be the way. He says he will get in therapy and get help. I know I can't stay. I should have left the first time, but then I wouldn't have my son, so some good came from it. I just don't know what to do or how to do any of this alone. Although I have a great family who would never let me suffer, I'm scared. Life is expensive. I have a kid to take care of, and I don't want to have to share him. But he is great as a father, and my son adores him. This is the hardest thing I've ever had to go through, and I just don't know if I can ever trust again. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You need to leave. Life is expensive, but you will figure it out. Life also needs to be happy and safe, which won't be the case as long as you are with this person. There is more to life than this. I suggest gathering your support network for a challenging few months. Find a therapist if you don't already have one. I wish you the best of luck. You didn't deserve this. Comment 2. Go to the police and press charges. I'm so sorry this happened to you. A great father would not sexually harass or sexually abuse his child's mother. A great father would not teach his son that it's okay to sexually abuse women and generally disrespect their boundaries. He is not a great father anymore than he is a great partner. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around after my last post. It's been a rough few days, and I've got some updates that I need to get off my chest. 3 days ago, I thought I had hit rock bottom when I found out about my husband's betrayal. But it turns out the rabbit hole went deeper. I had hoped that maybe, just maybe, we could work through this for our son's sake. But what I've learned has shattered that hope completely. Let's rewind a bit. When we first got together, my husband was the sweetest guy. He'd surprise me with little gifts, always knew how to make me laugh, and was incredibly supportive of my dreams. We were college sweethearts, and I thought we had the kind of love that would last a lifetime. But as the years went by, his true colors started to show. I remember the first time he brought up his kink. It was a shock to me, but I tried to be understanding. I thought it was just a phase, something he'd get over with time. I couldn't have been more wrong. Fast forward to the present, and I'm living in a nightmare. After I confronted him about the sexting and the nudes, he promised he'd change. He said he'd go to therapy, that he'd do anything to fix this. But actions speak louder than words, and his actions were screaming at me. 2 days ago, I stumbled upon an email notification on his phone. It was from a woman, and the subject line alone made my heart sink. I shouldn't have looked, but I couldn't help myself. The email was a detailed account of what she would do to me if she had the chance. It was clear that my husband had been sharing intimate details about our life, our marriage, and me. I confronted him again, and this time the fight was explosive. He tried to justify his actions, saying that he never physically cheated, that it was all just fantasy. But how could he not see the betrayal? How could he not understand the violation of trust? Yesterday I was at my breaking point. I called my sister, who has always been my rock. She reminded me of the time, years ago, when I had confided in her about my husband's kink. She had warned me then that it might be a red flag, but I was too in love to listen. The heartbreak hit me like a ton of bricks. I realized that the man I married, the father of my child, was a stranger to me. I had been holding on to the memory of who he used to be, but that man was long gone. Today, I've been trying to keep things normal for our son. He's too young to understand what's going on, and I don't want him to feel any of this pain. But inside, I'm a mess. I've been looking into divorce lawyers, trying to figure out how to navigate this new reality. My husband, on the other hand, has been acting like nothing's wrong. He's been trying to be extra attentive, cooking dinner, playing with our son like we're one big happy family. But every time I look at him, I feel sick. I've been reflecting on our past, trying to figure out where it all went wrong. I remember the little things, like how he used to get defensive when I asked him to spend less time on his phone, or the way he'd quickly change the subject whenever I brought up trust and boundaries. I've realized that I've been ignoring the signs for years, making excuses for his behavior because I didn't want to face the truth. But now, the truth is staring me in the face, and I can't ignore it any longer. I'm scared of what the future holds. I'm scared of raising my son alone, of the financial struggles, of the loneliness, but I'm more scared of staying in a marriage that's built on lies and betrayal. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.